Oh, shit. Why does that feel like there's nothing there? Okay. Okay, guys, welcome back to Alcoholics. I wanted to make this video. I know a few people that went to Dan Staten, the Elk Immersion, Elkshape,
yeah.
Elk Hunter.
The new one, the Elk Immersion, because he's
Elk Immersion.
He said some other the elk-shaped camps that he did prior, but
yeah,
this is the first inaugural immersion.
Yeah, so I figured I didn't go to it. Obviously, we're gonna get into this, but Mike went, and I know 3 other people that went, and I've been drilling him with questions here and there, and everyone else. I figured, dude, let's make a video about someone that's relatively new to archery elk hunting, how he was before he went to the elk immersion, how he was leaving the elk immersion, and then how is he post early season archery. Anyways, this is Mike. Mike went to Elk Immersion, and yeah.
So prior, for archery, I got into it last August, and didn't do an elk hunt just out of still learning the bow and everything like that. And I did hunt deer in the modern season at a unit nearby, and then was unsuccessful. Got a shot at a deer, hit it high, never recovered it. Now it's painful. Like listening to podcasts of this, and like that whole, everyone talks about that, just not recovering, not so much as a pride thing, but just like you didn't do your end of the job.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Yeah.
So I knew from then on I needed to grind and really like have 100% confidence in my shot and just the process and everything that I'm doing out there. Like, yeah, you can just buy a bow and just start shooting, but had to kind of take a different approach, just the way I am with things. And when you hear a lot of people say it, but it's true with me for sure, is like getting into something, when I get into it, it's like, that's it.
You're all in.
Yeah, all in. And whether it's time, money, whatever it may be, if I can make it happen, I make it happen. But that green experience, hunting out of a blind for deer, I'm like, well, I'm nowhere near ready to hunt for elk, right? And so obviously watching Dan's videos, among other people, and listening to podcasts and
watching his hunting videos.
Yeah, all of them, the bow tuning ones.
Well, because his hunting videos are more like
a highlight reel.
Reels.
Yeah.
He has a 60-minute movie or whatever.
Yes, those. Phelps's.
It's not a teaching.
Phelps's. Meat eater, everything, and not just elk, not just deer, like everything.
Yeah.
Just like I said, getting engulfed in hunting as a whole.
Right.
And closer to, well, I guess we could jump to the before the camp kind of.
So, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're
what
fine.
I would say is, what drew your, because other people might be in the situation, they're maybe thinking about going to a camp or anything. What was your ultimate deciding factor, and what led up to you even considering going to this?
So prior, Joel's got his thing, the shot IQ thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'd considered that, but never, looked too far into it and didn't commit. Had always played on the outskirts of doing his online program.
Yeah. Shot IQ.
Yeah, Shot IQ. Shout out to Shot IQ.
Yeah.
Stuff's magic, which I heard great things about prior. Anyway, and then, watching Dan's videos, watching MFJJ, and then them announcing how they were going to do it or what the plan was. And I'm like, I got to do this. Because the technical side, the bow tech part of it was like a huge interest for me too. Because I want to learn. I'm a tinkerer.
And no place offers that?
Yeah,
and
nowhere.
MFJJ's
It's
one of the
crazy.
Best,
Yeah, renowned, say a master bow tech for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt. And actually, I'll talk about it when we get to the camp part, but that, Joel, and then Dan, I like fitness too. That's his big thing. That's kind of seems like how he started the elk things, a big part of his life, but fitness is too. And so when they kind of talked about it in a podcast, and then it was here, and it was one of those ones where I approached the wife, because it wasn't
Here is in our home state, Washington.
here, and also like registration's open, 45 spots.
Yeah.
Can I pull this off? I have the money, but is it money that I can justify spending on a camp? And I thought it was, because, you know, you got those 3 people there and not knowing 100% what to expect, kind of getting what they were talking to. And something they're going to work on of the recent podcast, they talked about, like, this is their first time doing it this way too. So I didn't know what to expect. The information was kind of short going into it, up until the weeks before, if not week before. And so I approached my wife and I'm like, hey, there's this camp that's about hunting, but also archery. And God bless my wife. Very thankful for her. She's always 100% behind me on all my endeavors, whether it was golf, fishing, now hunting, like totally backs me on it. And I told her, I said that I think that this is something that can help my chances of success with what I want to do now. And, you know, and then that's hunting. And then you have the other facets of archery, the bow tech side, and also the mental side with Joel.
Well, and even connecting building, getting to know those guys.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, I'm a fairly outgoing guy once I, you know, get talking, but definitely standoffish at the start. I mean, it didn't take us long to start talking, you know, and BSing.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's easier when it's with relatable people, and that's what that turned into at the camp. So, leading the weekend before the camp, my son had cowboy camp for Boy Scouts, and it's 90 degrees, sleeping in these plywood shacks, didn't know what to expect there. And so my mind's at the camp already, you know, but I'm doing this scout camp with my kid and couldn't wait to get home, go to work for a week, pack up and head north.
Right.
And go to the camp, because, you know, it's like the Christmas feeling, just, you know, similar to what the kind of the feeling I had before hunting season started.
Going into not opening day, but opening day eve is like, because that's the day.
I didn't know.
I never head out to the woods on opening day. You head out to the woods a day or two before opening season.
Yeah, I was out there Thursday before the Saturday opening.
Yeah, and it's like,
I thought it was going to be packed where I went. Because, like I said, don't know what to expect. Didn't see a soul out there when I was scouting, other than people shooting guns. But then I show up and I'm like, wow, there's still nobody here. This could be good. It could be, you know. Yeah. Obviously, that changed the next day.
So you went into Elk Immersion. Would you say complete greenhorn elk hunting?
Absolutely.
Zero experience?
Well, the only experience I gained was from
deer.
Deer, but the...
Did you hunt elk before that?
No, but I mean, I guess I learned my experience I gained was at the camp.
No, I mean before.
So I was getting ahead. Yeah, before, no. Nothing other than...
Going into it, you had zero experience.
Elk 101,
no infield
all the podcasts.
Experience?
Yeah, no infield, no boots on the ground, scouting. That was the first time ever seeing elk scat on the ground, you know. Beddings, everything.
Like this hunting season was?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like never before.
So you go into the camp, you're going to the camp, one, to give yourself a jump start. Nothing's going to prepare you, and Dan will tell you, everyone will tell you this, nothing is going to prepare you more than just time in the field, boots on the ground. But this gave you a big jump up on a lot of things. Number one, so you were going to learn how to work on your bow, string your bow, all this stuff, things that you would take a long time to learn just watching YouTube and stuff, and you're getting it from MFJJ himself. Number two, you were learning the fitness side of it, what Dan does, how much shape they really need to be in. You're learning shot IQ from Joel Turner, how to do a surprise release, not punch the trigger like I do.
Yeah, keep your mind in the game too.
And then shooting under pressure is a big one that they were drilling to you there. I know that. They wanted you to run.
That was fun.
Put you in a tense moment. Did Joel teach calling scenarios,
Yeah.
setups?
So, and that was huge for me. It was pivotal for me this hunting season, because that being, other than listening to podcasts, the only in-person, you know, like having a dad say, this is how I did it, you know, that kind of way. And so being a successful hunter as Joel is, and the amount of bulls he, you know, claimed, and I 100% believe called in the year prior, I took his tactics into the field.
Well, and he harvested, what, 60 elk
He
last
said he
year?
called in like 50 something and harvested. Yeah. And then
60 or 70?
MFJJ and Dan just talked about it for the
State.
Yeah.
And for the
reservation.
Yep.
And I don't doubt it for a second. And that's the thing, those reps, and he's years and years prior. I mean, more years than I am old. So more likely hunting.
Did they ever highlight to anyone the difference between Roosevelt and Rocky? Because here's a lot of things. I listen to a lot of these podcasts, like, and the coaching on how to hunt elk, how to hunt late season, how to hunt early season, post rut, pre rut.
A lot of it's Rocky.
But that's all Rocky. None of it is relevant when you're hunting the coast range.
Yeah.
At all. None of it. Zero.
No,
Zero
like the glassing thing, you know, a lot of people talk about sitting and glassing, and I'm like,
what are you going to glass?
Yeah,
10 feet?
Yeah, exactly. You can't even see over the tops of the jack firs in front of you.
Quality glass. You don't need glass, man. Like,
yeah.
I'll
say my 10x40s came in nice in the tree line, in the timber.
Yeah.
But that was just to clarify what my rangefinder couldn't see.
But any clear cut that you come out to a 10x42
visible. Yeah. It's literally like this big, and then you're back in timber.
Yeah.
But yeah, as tactics, so Joel, so you're asking, like, did they differentiate tactics for Roosevelt? And we did ask the questions, and they allowed us to record all of it, which was awesome, because I reverted back to it actually when I was hunting to hear the sounds and kind of hear what his playbook was. And they did a little bit talk about the differentiating, but it was more generalization of elk. And, you know, for Joel, it was the bull interaction versus a bull trying to call your girlfriend. You know, his example of starting a bar fight.
Yeah.
Is it, if you're intentionally going to do it, are you going to go straight to the guy and say, hey, let's fight? You know, in a sense. And this isn't word for word, I'm not quoting, but it's along the lines of that. Or would you go up to his girl and start flirting with her and try to get him all amped up and throw the first punch or whatever it may be? And that approach does work for Roosevelt's. The biggest one that he taught is the lost calf. Are you gonna look for a, if Ron's over there crying behind his car, you're gonna be like, Jesus Christ, grown ass adult crying, you know?
No.
But if there's a baby over there crying, you're sure as hell gonna look around the corner and walk towards it and, like, take a look, right? Anybody, I don't care who you are. And that's from day one to the last day. Granted, they quit talking midway through the hunt, but from day one to the last day, that was the only way I got elk to talk. And green as I am, didn't know they were talking to me for the first 4 days, thinking it was hunters. And
I will say
that was one thing I was really green about going into. Was I was nervous to hunt into hunters, and I don't know why that changed day 3 after I realized I'd miss opportunities.
I checked in with people throughout the early season in Washington. Charles, he's one of the guys that was at Elk Immersion too, and he was saying they were into elk and stuff, and he said, lost calf call, baby. And so he obviously learned that through Joel, and it does work. And there is scenarios where the call you make can make or break that whole scenario. So say you go in and you let off an aggressive bugle, and that bull takes off before you get in range. Or you did a calf call, lost calf, and now you have a bull that's coming in. Like, there's so much to calling, and it's so hard to break it down to just simple. Well, because every scenario is different, and then you got to learn what the elk mean by what they're doing.
Yeah, the elk. That's one thing that I only touched the surface right before I left, but with elk nuts app and just, I used it out in the field just to verify the sounds that I was trying to make and also what they were saying to me. And that helped me be like, oh crap, I'm actually talking to elk.
Yeah.
Based on how I was talking to them. And it's, gosh, yeah, dude, experience. I wish everyone says this, but like if I could go back to just opening morning and replay that whole thing, I think if I could do that, replay that, and then have the experience I did like day 7 when I ambushed and thought it was just a bull and it wasn't, I would probably have a nice bull at home in my freezer, which was the ultimate goal, was just the meat. Cow or bull. I wasn't chasing. I'm not, a 301 hunter is, what's his name? Elk Hunt. His podcast. What's it? Cody. Is it Cody? Cody. I'm blanking his name. Anyway, 301, 101, 201, 301 hunters. And I'm a 101. I'd say I'm a 99 just because of, I got into them. And when, like we joked about it, when you texted me and you're like, oh, you ought to be a guide, man. And you can't tell, emotion or context over text. And he's texting me that I'm on the top of the hill. I just had my ass kicked over an edge. and he texts me and he's like, man, because I'm texting him like, just got into another bull, a herd, blew out a herd or whatever I told him. And he had said, he's like, man, you got to be a guide or something. And I was like, you know what, man, fuck you.
Yeah.
You let me know how your hunt goes.
Like, I don't need your sarcastic shit, man. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, and I took it out of context, but it's hard to tell context, and he clarified it, and I'm like, all right, cool.
No,
because I was just like, how many, after you do it that many times of like ruining it for yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't know what was going on with you, and so it's like, but we had our hunt going, this and that. I was in the unit next to you, but he was on the bulls often and elk often, to where knowing that he just came to Elk Immersion experience, and I didn't know all that he learned, we haven't discussed all that, and that he hadn't hunted before that, and I was saying to him, you must be doing something right, or you, like, thinking he must have learned a lot. And I'm like, damn, dude, like, you might be a natural born elk hunter. And yeah, I didn't know the timing of it or whatever. And that's why it's like, you can message your old lady a message and she snaps back to you and you're like, what the heck's wrong with you? And she's like, you're coming at me sideways. You're like, what? Yeah,
and
no, I just simple context of it.
Just said I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and aside from Joel's calling, obviously having MFJJ with the bow is great. That was more, they're talking about changing up how to do it, and I 100% agree with them. When I left my review, that was one of the things I said. I'm like, I wish my bow was tits out the get-go, sight tape plated before I was in there working with Joel.
Yeah, they should do the bows first.
Absolutely, because everything, I changed releases in the middle of the camp, which I ultimately reverted back to a finger release due to just lack of confidence of
index release.
Yeah, I went to index from the clicker, which I love the clicker, but it was like I have more time with my index that I should have tuned in the bow with the index, so I had to make my adjustments, which I learned what adjustments to make but how to do it at home without a press and adjusting peeps and whatnot. That was beneficial for sure. And then seeing it, like able to video him the way he ties things, seeing how the timing works on my bow, working in a group of similar bows.
Yeah. Did Dan teach you guys any of his tactics, or did he share any pins for Idaho?
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, I wish. I still pushed him forward at the end. Regardless, Dan means business. He's awesome. I respect the shit out of his approach to the whole camp, and it was like a no nonsense kind of approach. And at first I'm like, fuck, he's serious. And I was like, oh, he's serious. And we did the stress test, and the stress test was great because I'll say I wasn't quite at any point as exhausted on those 3 shots as I like when I was hunting, I didn't, but it helped me think of where I needed to be in case that. But there was plenty of moments when I was moving up the mountain and I'm like, dude, if something steps out right now, are you going to be able to do it? Or do you need to take a second and gather yourself?
Yeah.
Because when you're moving, and that's one of his things, he talks about moving, and I think there's a pro and con to that. The lack of experience, I think I moved too fast.
That's another thing that I always... So, if I'm hunting Rockies and it's open and I got to cover ground fast, it's open. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. But, like, even in Idaho, it's thick brush. When you're not... I thought about that, too. I've never been winded on the coast.
Yeah.
Because I'm not on a freaking marathon, so... Maybe they're trying to not necessarily anticipate that you're running across fields to get somewhere. They're just trying to get you amped up and adrenaline going and stuff to see how you react.
Yeah, in the situation.
But you're not going to be just cruising through timber. If you do that on the coast, you're never going to see anything.
Yeah, the stress test was definitely a heart rate elevating. It wasn't so much like, oh, you're going to be exhausted when you take a shot. It's like, this is the best way to get yourself almost to failure. And we're going to push it. So the 3 different shot types, one pretty basic, longer shot, one which I found myself in that position on a knee multiple times, more exhausted, and then one where you're waiting at full draw for a minute before you take the shot and you're the most exhausted you've been. So it's the mental thing. Like, don't let it down. You got penalized, if you let your bow down, or if you miss the target, you got, a minute added to your time or whatever. And I will say, I beat Dan's time. He changed up the rhythm of his thing. I messaged or commented on him like, man, or I tied or something. But I had a minute penalty. So did he. It was 10 minutes and then minute penalty. But he did the mountain in reverse, essentially, and shot at the elk where we had a moose downstairs. His target's a little bigger. Regardless, do that, man. Do a stress test of similarity. It was a hill. I think I called it in the mountain in the review because camera guy was asking, what I thought and whatnot. Anyway, it was a great, like, all right, this is where I need to be able to take those controlled shots and bring yourself. And this is after working with Joel. Yeah. So then tying that, like the guy that I timed, he was exhausted. Great dude. But he was at that minute one, and he was because he's out of shape, but he was so exhausted that he's like, I can't take a good shot. Let down. Took his minute penalty without being at draw, took a breath so that he could take a good shot. And where you would think, like, with how our group was the only one to complete everything, and we were all pushing each other. And I was expecting Dan to be like, let the bow. He's like, good. Yeah. Because if you're just going to fling arrows, that was the Joel process. Yeah. Like, if you can't take a good shot, don't take the good, you need to be in control of your shot. And he wasn't, and he decided to let down. And penalty or not, whatever, it's not like you won something, other than respect from Roy. Yeah. Dude was a beast. Did it in 8 minutes, no penalties. 10 ring. So, do you think you went into season... Okay, so say you look at going into season without going to Elk Immersion versus having went. What do you think? I'd have been lost, honestly. Like, just as
you think it was a big confidence booster?
I would have been more inclined to try to find someone to hunt with. Yeah. You know what I mean? How I wasn't like not wanting to hunt with you, and then Mark, who I ended up hunting with at the camp, or base camping with there, I would have just probably been like, hey, I'll go to your spots, not where I scouted. You know what I mean? Or I would have been like, hey, I'm not finding anything. Can I come hunt with you, Ron? You know what I mean? Yeah. Just out of green, but like I still had that confidence, and it built throughout the hunt. Other than the lows you get at the end when you're like, man, I'm getting my ass whooped out here.
Hunting with people is everyone's different, but for me, hunting with people is great, as in like sharing a camp and stuff. I don't really think you need to be, for me, and say hunting where where we live, if I'm doing an elk hunt on the coast of Washington, I would rather be by myself.
Yeah.
On my hunts, we could hike up together. You do this side of the ravine, I do this side of the ravine. We meet back up for lunch, stuff like that. We're technically hunting together, but
because we're in a relative area. But yeah, exactly.
You're gonna see way more animal, way more sign. You're gonna get way more intel. You're gonna cover more ground, so you're gonna have more.
Yeah.
Then when you meet back up, say every 4 hours you meet back up, and then you discuss.
Yeah, exactly, and kind of see a different approach.
To when one of you shoots something, you can go pack it out. Or if you get in a situation where you know, hey, for this setup, I'm gonna need someone calling. I'm gonna come in like this, or have someone. I know there's a bull in there, and I need someone to swing around and push him. That's where it's great to have people with you.
Yeah. So the like hunting partner thing, I see the DIY more relevant for archery and rifle. Yeah, it's a lot more prominent to be able to sit at the top with your rifles and glass or scout and road hunt or whatever it may be with a buddy and go home every night. But out there, you have to be out there and on them. And I think for me, it was like an average of 7 to 10 miles a day. 15 miles being the biggest day and my least prepared because I didn't expect it, but I ran into some people, awesome guys, James and Chris, out there in the unit, and they shared so much with me about the area that I thought I was hunting, and they showed me, you know, they opened this is, here's the area, and I'm like, holy crap, and they were totally cool, like what you hope for when you run into hunters, you know what I mean, and then even turned into when they left, because I hunted longer than them, James and them, they have intel up there, and he was texting me, hey, heard a 10 heading east on this road, and they have names for all the roads, you know, and I was like, wow, he doesn't have to do it. We still text today, you know, to today about stuff, and awesome guys. So that was a great experience, being able to just, and it was me, I went out, it was the day before opening, and they were camped near where I was planning on starting, and that was the other thing. I'm like, I didn't camp there because I was like, shit, I don't want to camp too close to where I plan on hunting.
Or right on top.
Oh, right on top of them.
Blow them out.
That was my thought. Dude, it did not matter. Because that opening, and I'm not saying it doesn't always, but it didn't for that. Because there was elk tracks days after they left, and there was still a camp on the other road. And these are just dead timber roads going in.
So to highlight how it doesn't matter, we had bulls raking the trees by our tent 3 nights that we were out there. Like, woke up in the morning and literally right next to my truck, shit just shredded.
The only bull,
and you'd hear them all night.
Yeah.
And we would just listen and enjoy it.
Right.
It's like,
the only bull I know that was taken was the one closest to the area closest to our camp, where Mark and I saw 3 cows dump into off the road the Thursday night. And then someone saw a 6-point dump in right where the cows were. One of the guys I met down there, he saw him coming up the hill Friday morning, so he's chasing them in there. And let alone, we put a camera in this area just randomly pointing in a direction towards where they dumped in at. 45 minutes after we put that camera up, we had a 5-point, the back of his head, right next to the cameras right here. You see, you can't even see the top of his rack. He walked right past the tree, and we're like, holy crap, that was 45 minutes ago. Like,
should have stayed put.
Yeah, no kid. Well, it was Friday, day before opener, but yeah. So, and it's like they were there. And I noticed a lot of the times when I saw them, when I was driving to my spot or going somewhere, a lot of the track was 15 to 30 yards off the road. You know, you hear every car coming by, you hear unnatural animal predator footsteps. I kind of think that they're like close to home, but they were working down in an area. Chris, who hunts that a lot, he was like, I know they're going to be down in this area. They're going. And then I saw pictures outside of where I was, where Highway 4 meets 101, and they were down in the swamp feeding off the side of the highway. Someone took it. They're like, hey, you guys looking for elk? And they're sitting down in the swamp that Chris is like, I bet they're moving down there.
Well, there was that whitetail in Roosevelt Sanctuary too, off the highway, and they were down there Sunday night. Yeah. A couple bulls out there with all the cows. But what I was going to say is another thing that kind of sucks is one thing that kind of screwed up. I mean, this isn't about me or anything, but one thing that kind of stinks when you get decent at calling, if you're good at calling, is you will end up spending your whole day running away from hunters.
Yeah.
Because they think you're elk, and
Yeah.
they continue and continue and continue and continue and continue to follow you
Right.
all day.
Well, and that was my worry.
You stand out in a clear cut and you freaking just keep barking and making the stupidest sounds and throwing your hands up in the air till finally they put up their binoculars.
Yeah.
And then they walk off.
Well, and that was my worry. So morning one, I'm plan on hunting this bench. I'd say plateau, the bottom of this old clear cut that I had scouted and found beds and just active living, right? For what I thought was active living. And I believe I was right. I don't have confirmation of this, but first light, I'm sitting in there an hour before first light on the other clear cut between it. And I immediately, as soon as light starts coming, start that distress calf call. And instantly I get a big old bugle and a bunch of chuckles. And I'm like, that sounded really good. That guy's a good caller, is all I'm thinking. Because I'm thinking the guys that, I didn't ask them where they were hunting. Their campsites were right behind me, 300 yards. Let's say 300 yards, right? Or more. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, fuck, they went there too, Mm-hmm. I was on to something. And I worked out, crossed the river, calf call again, instantly. Like cuts me off before I can, just bugles, chuckles. And I'm like, God dang it, and then they wouldn't shut up. He wouldn't shut up. I'm assuming it's a bull to this day, because then I realized this day 3, because he followed me as I worked into the wind, and then he shut up once I assume he caught my wind, mm-hmm. because I worked into wind to the next clear cut thinking, oh, they're on that plateau. Why would they be sitting there is something that crossed my mind. But at the same time, like, whatever, they got there, they're going to sit that spot because there was active trail coming in from the timber there. Mm-hmm. And then it clicked like day 3 when after day 2 morning, I went into that spot where I'm like, well, I've seen elk here. I need to hunt here, Yeah. And I kind of did the same thing where I worked away because I heard a bugle, chuckle, and then 2 different calf or cow calls to my calf. And I'm only doing calf calls, calf in distress, like nothing else. And I get answers and I'm like, oh, they're hunters. They're in here before, I'm just greener than green. And I look back and I'm like, all right, I'm on day 3. If I heard a calf in distress or even a cow call, would I bugle back at it? No, I wouldn't. I would try to get closer and listen.
Unless they're green.
Yeah. But I would, that was day 3. I'm thinking, I'm not going to bugle back because day 1, day 2, I didn't even take a bugle tube, just my diaphragm. Yeah. Cow calls or a calf in distress was my only game plan. Yeah. Or my main game plan. And then I started realizing, I asked Mark, I asked other guys I ran into, and I'm like, would you answer? And they're like, no. And then let alone I end up running into the guys that I thought were up there on day 3 after one of my cameras went off and 2 cows went in front of it. Mm-hmm. I bolted down there thinking I was going to catch them, thinking, whatever, evening hunt, here we go. Yeah. Wind was not in my favor, probably wasted some steps, but found a new way into where I wanted, one of the areas, which worked out. But I asked them, I say, hey, where are you guys at opening morning? Were you down there on that bench at the bottom of that clear cut? And they're like, no. And I just went, because there was like no camps around, and I was in there an hour and a half before daylight. I'm not saying other people couldn't possibly beat that, but I was like, I walked away from a goddamn bull. Like, I firmly believe that I walked away from my first and not only opportunity, but like, that's how green I was to the aspect, like the knowledge I learned with the call scenario or the game plan, tits. Yeah. It was great. But I green enough to where I was at that moment, I was like, all right, no one's ever told me this. And of course, after I say it, everyone's like, oh, yeah, I grew up and they always told me, like, always hunt into every call or anything you hear, hunt into it. If it's hunters, it's hunters. Well, It took me 3 days to be like, fuck it, I'm going to find out if it's a hunter or not, right?
Well, and eventually you'll learn, like, so I'm at, not every time, sometimes it may take me a couple to figure out if it's an elk or a human. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 10, I'm like,
and that's what the 2 cow calls behind the bugle I had in the morning. It was like one sounded good and one sounded like a external, like a call that it was 2 different cow calls.
Yeah.
And one sounded like, you know, an external call, and one could have been a diaphragm and or elk, whatever. Like one was like, I was like, damn, it's a good cow call. And then the other one had like this raspy tone to it, almost like, because I have the Slayer cow call, and it kind of makes me think of that sound versus when I do it with the diaphragm. And I was like, that's why I was like, oh, 2 guys hunting together, one's bugling, one's cow call, and the other one cow call. I'm like, I guess unless they were hunting calves, because I was distinctively like, meh, 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 you know. Really high pitch, definitely not a cow, but like, I was in distress.
So do you feel like it was worth every penny, and would you recommend it to others?
Yeah. I actually had a guy reach out to me on Instagram afterwards, because I posted a post on Instagram about it, and I don't know. Oh, it's probably because Dan shared it in his story, but he messaged me and he was like, I was on the fence, I had a newborn, and I just wasn't sure. Do you think it was worth it? And I'm like, 100%. Like, I don't care what level you're at, you can learn something there. And then the connections I made there with people just in general, and it was mostly just my group, but there was people outside of that. And yeah, I mean, just being there, different experience, meeting the people, the knowledge that was given in a crunched in time, but still being able to recollect it and like take it home, videotape it, rewatch it, whatever I needed to do. Like, yeah, I think it was worth it. I don't know that I wouldn't pay to do it, because for me, it was a stretch. Like, it's not like I just have thousands of dollars laying around to do it every year.
Yeah.
I'd love other people to have the opportunity to do it, not take up a spot. And I'm sure it's only going to become more the cost. And
especially if it's a day longer and they're doing more.
Yeah, but my questions would be different. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I want to do is get in front of them and ask them new questions.
Yeah.
And you can never watch the bow tech side of it too many times. That's for sure. So I definitely would recommend it to people.
I recommend archery and elk hunting to anyone in general. Like,
I got guys at work, they're like, man, it sounds so fun. I'm like, do it.
There's like, eventually I'll make the video when the time's right, but I haven't shared this with no one. My family know, but archery saved my life. I don't share that you're the first person I've ever told that, besides my family knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. But I'll make a video on it. But anyone that has any problems in their life, or they're anything like whatever, to me, becoming an alcoholic saved my life. So
yeah, it's something you share with your kids.
Healthy passion. I've hunted my whole life.
Yeah.
And everything, but yeah, it's...
No, I definitely am on the same boat as you, as far as just what it's like talking about being obsessed, and I've talked about golf, and I was really into that, and then fishing. Still love fishing, don't get me wrong, that'll never leave, but like this is a lifetime thing until I can't physically do it, and my kids are gonna do it, or I'm gonna introduce them to it. Not everyone grabs onto it. I probably wouldn't have, even if my dad had, because he grew up hunting Oregon Roosevelt's, and with his dad, who was an archery hunter, and my grandpa. It was never in the cart. My dad was always working, but like, I want to do everything I can to be like, here's an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, let's see it. Like my kids, I got my son, he's got one of those Genesis bows where you get going. He's just not there yet, like as far as attention span, and that's fine. I wasn't either. And when he's ready, we'll do it. But
I tell everyone, like, I don't do this for the views or anything. Like, I do this because I love it, and I do it because I want people to be out in the woods, and when you run into other hunters, be fucking nice to them, fucking share information. Yeah. We're a team, and when you see kids out there, take your time and coach them up, help them, and do for others as you'd want done for yourself. And it's like a big brotherhood. Mm-hmm. And the hunting community is large as a whole, but the actual, oh, I thought someone was walking up. The industry is actually really tight knit, and they all know everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that Chris guy, so he had hunted this unit. He's hunted it muzzleloader for 15 years, and James 5. And one of the things Chris said to me, and obviously first year hunting archery and getting in talk, they were the first group that I talked to, the outside of Mark, when I was there, and I think it was day 2 or 3, he ran back into him, and I'm talking to him, and I ended up hunting with him one day where we did that, where we straddled 2 different lines on the topo, high low, meet here, and then I got into a bull with them as we ventured into yonder, and we all got into it. And Chris, no bow, the story's hilarious. He's got to tell it, but damn near sounded like he was about to get raped by an elk at 10 yards.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
And I was telling him about how my days have been going, or what I've been seeing, or like how I messed up and how I think I messed up. And he's 15 years, they're in their I think he was 43 years old. And he was like, just laughing to himself. And he just said, he goes, I love honest hunters. I wish there was more honest hunters. And all that was me just being like me, I guess. Like, I didn't feel like I was oversharing. I was just like, man, I think I fucked this up. And I think I, could have done this differently. And he's like, yeah, you probably could have, but.
Well, yeah, you'll run into people and they're like, you see anything? And you're like, oh, here.
Yeah.
And like, oh, and then it's like, oh,
my
man,
last
we were
days.
on bulls today. We've been on several bulls up here.
In my last days,
like, no.
2 dudes were spike camped up on the ridge, and I had decided to go down. I was just camped below, and I ran into them in the morning of the third to last day, and never seen them before ever. I saw their truck in the morning. I didn't even know they were there because I was on the mountain, came back to camp, and then woke up and I'm like, oh, that truck it wasn't there when I went up the hill, and I couldn't see it in the dark.
Right.
Went up there, ran into them, and I'm like, I gave them everything on that, like everything I've seen, what I think they're doing. I told them, I don't know anything, but I've been on them the longest. This area hasn't been touched for days. If I had to make a guess, it's this way. Here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They told me what their plan was. I told them, you could, I tried this, might be worth it. It's been a couple days since I went this way. I don't know, up on the ridge, there hasn't been anybody, based on the intel. And I don't know if they were successful or not, but it was kind of cool to do that. Ran into them the next morning. I'm like, well, I'm going this way. I'm doing this. I'm going to loop all the way around. And they're like, all right, we're going to go up here and listen above this wallow and just see, before light. And that was cool. Like,
yeah,
a face can be misjudging. I get a lot of people tell me they see me and they're like, you look pissed off all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's just my face. I don't know. Like, I try not to, but I am approachable. So
the one tip that I always give people, newer guys or whatever, is like, I always tell them, like, I hunted 9 days straight. I went through 4 bottles of wind check. You cannot beat the wind.
Yeah, dude, I got blessed out there.
There's guys that go, I'm going to go from here to here, and then I'll play the wind. It's like, you cannot do that. You got to learn that you have to, you can trick their eyes, you can trick their eyes and their ears, but you're not going to trick their nose. Yeah. You cannot. You might be like, okay, well, I'm going to work that canyon because I know they're over there, so I can cheat the wind to get over there, and then no.
So it's funny, so I had my wind checker, obviously, but I was blessed out there. Have you heard of the company Nilchi? Have you seen those little yellow balls?
Yeah, you have it on your hat.
Yeah. So I actually was just walking, I was about to dive in to this area off the road, and this badass Jeep, whatever truck rolls up. He's got, hard top on, and just get to talking, because again, he's just asking, and we'd start talking. He goes, hey, well, what are you running for wind checker? And I'm like, I got this. It was like a Primos tub, and I had refills and stuff. And he's like, have you seen? I'm like, yeah, I got some of that. I had one of those too, like down in my pouch. I bought them before I took off. I just had it as a backup inside of my harness. Yeah. And he goes, well, here, I got more. Here's refills. Cause I had the mount that they make that you could put on like your quiver, and it fell off before I even made it there. I think it was the heat in my garage or just warmth, and I didn't clean it. Yeah. Anyway, it would have ripped off in the brush. I actually lost one off my hat because they gave me the hat. That thing was cool. Like having the hat that just holds it. One less thing here. Just go like this. I could take the hat off, go like this, you know,
Or
whatever.
just do it on your head.
Or do it that way, just depending. But anyway, that was cool. I think they're called Nilchi. Don't quote me. I told him I'd shout him out on Instagram because that was a really cool thing. He wasn't the owner. He's like helps his buddy who's the owner. He does like the marketing and answers some of the emails. And they were just out there handing it out to like everybody that they found.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, sweet. And I got another sticker, so I'm gonna figure out a better spot to put it on the bow. Definitely handy. And the chalk it's cool because the tube doesn't take water in.
Yeah.
So like, it could be wet on top and you just hit it and it still will puff. But yeah, win for sure.
So is there anything else you'd like to
No, man.
about the Elk Immersion?
I recommend it. I know I said that, but like, I don't know what it entails. Sounds like Dodd's Doozies is gonna throw out the 3-day. Yeah, he's hot, dude. He's a cool cat. I tell you what. But it sounds like he's gonna throw out the highlight once they open registration. Watch it. You don't think you're in shape, you don't think you're up for it, just do it. If you have the money and the means and the permission from our awesome wives, or maybe you don't have kids and you have the time from work, just do it. I think it's for anybody. I don't know that there's an archery hunter out there that it won't apply to. I mean, you got Huntin' Fool comes in there, CEO comes in, talks about what they do. They're not selling you anything. They'll show you how to drop. They did a little Onyx stuff too, but it was more like, here's the odds, here's our sheet, these are the services we offer if you want them.
Well, and they said they want to get a call company out there and do a call thing too.
Oh yeah.
They said Phelps or whoever.
Phelps, any of them, yeah. That was the other thing. The Slayer Logger was my diaphragm of choice out there, and there's like hardly anything left of it, to be honest with you. Still kind of gets there. It gets a little tweak. You can see the wrinkle in the latex, but I didn't blow any of them out. I lost the blue and white one. I can't remember what model that one is, but that one was great. And then that's the one thing that I need to work on that I know a lot of people said for the elk thing with Joel is learning calls. Calling with him, having more time with him. I didn't bring mine, and I have an Enchantress, and I use that mainly for location bugles. And I did a lot of the bull to cow with it. But there's something it will get you there. It'll do the job for what I was doing in a sense, but learning everything else that comes with the bugle tube and be able to talk to him, probably would have helped me a lot too, because the one thing I couldn't do with it was chuckle very good. You can make a sound, but it was like, if I was an elk, I'd be like, what the hell is that? So the only time I did, I was using the tube, pull the top off, chuckle into the tube, put the thing back on so I could bugle, and it's great for automatic and location bugles for sure. But no one's carrying 2 tubes around, or at least I don't know anybody, or why you would, unless you're going home every night and taking a 10-pound pack, you know what I mean? But other than that, no, I recommend it. Great dudes, great people out there. I don't know if I just lucked out. Hopefully it goes well the next years, wish them all the best. I think that they're highly capable, and we were the inaugural, and they're only going to learn from every camp that they do. I will say, glad to have food, but I agree with them. Jimmy John's every day was a little rough. That was a lot of bread. Obviously, I had the choice to eat it or not, but and we had to go we went to the river like 2 of the nights just to go bathe. Which was kind of cool. The dude that was camped next to me, he was from Canada, Winnipeg, drove 16 hours for the camp, and he ended up, we were buddies the whole time. Just that's who rode. He's old enough to be my dad. We were riding to the river. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go wash my nuts. You want to go to the river too? That kind of thing. And he was a really cool dude.
You wash my nuts, I'll wash yours.
Yeah. Here's my loofah. Can you get my back?
He's like my dad.
Yeah.
All right, man.
What are you trying to say?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, guys, and we'll check you later.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get more videos coming soon. Obviously, everyone knows it's elk season, so things are going to be a little bit slower, and it's just...
We're already flirting with ideas for next year, right?
Yeah, and I have a newborn. He's only less than 2 weeks old, so I've been busy. But anyway, we'll check you guys later. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
see how if we can